Good morning. Hi, sis.
Good morning.
Morning, family.
Yeah.
Bam, bam, bam. Lesson 333.
333. Do you know what that signifies?
Tell me, because three's always been my favorite number. Coreen's favorite number.
I don't really know. I'm just asking you if you knew. I think three is the number for creativity. I'm not sure, but
Really?
so if you've got three threes,
Okay.
wow,
Must be something
powerful.
good here.
There's got to be something in forgiveness.
Yeah, well, three, I'm hearing the three is the Trinity. Okay, thank you. Yes, the three is the Trinity. We're going for that.
Okay.
It's for wholeness.
Oh,
Yeah.
there you go. That's
That
it.
for the mind that has no idea what it's talking about, but I'm sticking with it. Okay, here we go. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Forgiveness ends the dream of conflict here. Forgiveness ends the dream of conflict here. All right, here we go. Conflict must be resolved. If we want to awaken, right? Conflict must be resolved.
If you want to be free of conflict.
Mhm. And the split mind is a state of conflict. It's I am a body and I am separate self, or I am the Christ, one with all of creation at home in God. You cannot possibly be both. So the mind that believes that it is mythical me and a body is split, it's sick, and it's in conflict. It's actually at war with itself. So there's conflict.
Mhm.
And this must be resolved if we desire to awaken and stop and put an end to the conflict. Okay, so this next sentence is really key. The conflict, it cannot be evaded, set aside, denied, disguised, seen somewhere else, or called by another name, or hidden by deceit of any kind if it would be escaped.
Mm.
And I just want to stop for a moment because he's giving us a beautiful list of the ways in which we protect this conflict. This is the way we protect the idea that we're mythical me. Because if we knew that the conflict is within the mind, it would be very close to the source of healing, which is in our mind, the Holy Spirit. So these are the ways that we take this um, unpopular conflict, or it's what's the word?
It was unconscious, really.
Yeah, it's
Most of it's
unconscious.
unconscious. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's the way that we keep it unconscious by deflecting it, by doing something with it, moving it away from the mind. So here's a list of how we evade or we set it aside. We outright deny
Mhm.
the conflict in our mind. We disguise it as COVID or politics or the jerk at work or lack of funds, right?
Mhm.
Seen somewhere else, I don't know, a brother, maybe, a family member, called by another name. Let's call it disease. Let's call it the common cold,
Mhm.
or hidden by deceit of any kind if it would be escaped. So it's beautiful to look at how we protect the mythical me and protect the fear in the mind that fuels this mythical me. So he's giving us some strong clues here. It must be seen exactly as it is. The conflict must be seen exactly as it is, where it is thought to be, in the reality which has been given it by us, and with the purpose that the mind accorded it to safeguard the belief in separation.
Mm.
For only then, only by seeing it where it truly is, for only then are its defenses lifted and the truth can shine upon it as it disappears. That's the forgiving ourselves for our illusions and accepting the atonement. That's I am not mythical me. I forgive the wish for separation. I accept myself as I really am, one with my brothers, one in God. Okay, so here's the prayer. Father, forgiveness is the light you chose to shine away all conflict and all doubt and light the way for our return to you. No light but this can end our evil dreams. No light but this can save the world. For this alone will never fail in anything being your gift to your beloved Son. So only God's answer is the answer that will end the conflict. And notice the millions of ways the ego would have us try to end the conflict. And after countless lifetimes, and even in this incarnation, when you look at the world completely split and then split again and yet split again, with minds agreeing in small groups and at war with other groups on how all the problems will be resolved. Have they ever? In a moment of clarity, can we just look at, has it ever worked? And those that truly find peace, they all did it the same way, through forgiveness and the recognition, awakening to the God self. So no matter what the ego would try to sell us as, if you get this, if you achieve that, if you have the perfect partner, perfect home, perfect job, perfect bank account, if you go to church every Sunday, this will never, ever, ever work. God's answer was forgiveness. There's the light. When we forgive, we make space for the light to arise in our awareness, and that is the memory of home. And only the memory of home will wipe all conflict out of our thought. And that requires taking accountability before we can forgive. One who forgives real problems or things that it sees external to itself isn't forgiving at all. Real forgiveness, again, is not seeing it disguised or hidden or displaced or projected. It's bringing it to the mind in this admission, I have done this thing to myself, and it is this that I would undo. Thank God it was never true. I forgive myself for the thought that a state of separation could bring me anything that I want, or that separation could even occur.
So, Sis, I'd like to flesh that out a little bit more.
Yes, please.
Because it's just so helpful, and something that I've seen fairly recently, or we both seen, you and I have seen this fairly recently, but it doesn't seem to be a popular teaching in course circles at the moment, although maybe it will increase. The popularity of this teaching will increase in time as the fear of love decreases. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But what I've seen recently is that our forgiveness practice really won't become totally anchored, grounded in our being, and until we actually forgive our mistaken belief in two totally irreconcilable belief systems, but both love and fear, mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. and both God and the ego, right? Because while we believe that both are real, we're also going to give both of them equal power in our mind. Yeah. Yes. We're going to give them equal power in our mind. And in my experience, my own forgiveness process didn't really accelerate until I took this fact in.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just to drive this one home is a couple of quotes here and this one's from lesson 152, paragraph 3. Salvation is the recognition that the truth is true and nothing else is true. Okay. This you have heard before, but may not yet accept both parts of it. Truth is true and nothing else is true. Without the first, the truth is true, the second, nothing else is true, has no meaning. Does that make sense?
Perfect.
Right? But without the second, which is nothing else is true, is the first no longer true, that the truth is true. Right?
Something has to be true.
Yeah.
Truth is true.
So
Yes.
truth cannot have an opposite, and this cannot be too often said and thought about. For if what is not true, the news, conflict, attack, and death, we see it in the news, right? For if what is not true is true, as well as what is true, which is love, right? Health, everything else, then part of truth is false. And truth has lost its meaning. Nothing but the truth is true.
Yes.
And what is false is false.
That's right.
That's it, right?
Yeah.
That's it right there. And this next one, it's from chapter 7, section 6. If truth is total, and it is, then the untrue cannot exist. That means the untrue that the ego sends our five physical senses to see out there in the world and feel in the body, in the past, in others, is not true. The untrue cannot exist.
Right.
Commitment to either must be total, to truth or untruth. They cannot coexist in your mind without splitting it. If they cannot coexist in peace, and if you want peace, you must give up the idea of conflict entirely and for all time. This requires vigilance only as long as you do not recognize what is true. That's the key.
Yes.
Recognizing what is true, right? While you believe that two totally contradictory thought systems share truth, God and the ego, or love and fear, your need for vigilance is apparent. So, this wasn't really driven home to me until the 20th year of me studying A Course in Miracles.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of Course in Miracles students like me, are still misled to believe that they're human and they're spirit, that they are the body and that they're spirit,
Right.
And until we make this very clear, positive separation in our mind, our forgiveness practice is going to be compromised severely because we're going to compartmentalize our forgiveness.
That's
right?
perfect, sis. That quote was just right on. Like, out of all the entire course, that was the one that needed to come forward. So thank you for that. Thank you. And I saw this in myself. So this is not a judgment. This is just, do you want to awaken or not? Because for a while you submerge into God. Like, maybe you went to a retreat or you're doing your daily lessons and your focus is on God. And yes, only the truth is true. Nothing else is true. Love the course, accept everything it is. Then you go to bed at night and you turn on your phone, you turn on the TV, and you're like gawking and you're standing aghast at this, and you're making a decision, right? Which side of things am I on? So every day you're like this, right? And you're feeding both thought systems. And notice that progress is here. And you're like a pendulum doing this. And that's why when Sis says my awakening really catapulted or propelled forward, because when you've got to cut one of them off. And I suggest we cut the one off that isn't true. Because you can feel yourself, in the adjoining, the lightness, the love, the clarity in thought. And then as soon as you plug into the world, it's just like this downward spiraling vortex, and you feel the mind just going like this. And that's all it's for. Remember, it doesn't matter what the story is. Was it AIDS? Was it chicken flu, bird flu, swine flu? Is it COVID? What's it calling itself now? It's an illusion, but it brings us into this conflict, a mind in conflict with itself, and it's so not open to the light. And the ego goes, my job's done, right? So it's, what is the truth? And if only that's true, then why are we feeding anything else? If it's not of God, if it's from the ego, it does not exist. God doesn't know it, and in your right mind, you don't know it either, right? Only when you're identifying with that mythical dream figure are you looking at illusions and having some experience where there's no truth at all. So making that positive separation is the key.
Right.
And compartmentalizing, that's so tempting, right? But when it comes to my children, it's real. When it comes to, being abused as a child, well, that's real. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a hierarchy of illusions, and then we wonder why we can't embody the first miracle principle.
Yes.
Just that there is no order of difficulty in miracles.
Yeah.
No, because we're hanging on to our hierarchy of illusions through the ego. Some things can be forgiven and others can't.
Yes.
Right?
Or that healing takes time, or awakening takes time, or all, that's just another way.
Yeah. And you and I are looking at this right now.
Yes.
Time is not a cause. We've said this before. Jesus says it. Time is not a cause. It cannot heal. Time cannot heal because it's neutral, and it can't harm.
Right. Because acceptance doesn't take more than a second. We accept that the truth is true because the truth is true now. It's not going to be truer 6 months from now. It is already. So we just drop our defense. How long does it take to change your mind about something? Truly.
One holy instant. That's it. So when we're forgiving, engaging in forgiveness, I've just written something down here. I think the most important thing in true forgiveness is to learn to genuinely forgive ourselves for having desired separation. That's the key. That's the nucleus of every single forgiveness opportunity that we've been given, or we give ourselves, right?
Yes.
So we learn to genuinely forgive ourselves for having desired separation. That needs to be recognized. I must have desired this. All right. And so I acknowledge that this particular problem, wherever it is, it might be in the body, it might be in a child, or a relationship, it could be in the past, abuse, in the world as the news, whatever, a war, whatever. I acknowledge that this problem could not have occurred unless I had unconsciously desired it.
Right.
Why did I desire it? Again, to prove the separation. Mythical me and the body are real. That's it. And God is not.
Right. Yes.
So, I think that's something that was missing in my first 20 years. Because as I said before, I really did believe I was forgiving my mother and the other people in my lives. And it's not about forgiving them. It's about forgiving ourselves for having desired separation in the first place, right?
The conflict that was in your mind at that time was being denied and seen somewhere else and called by another name. So it's not in me, it's in my mother out there because she's unfairly treating me. I'm being unfairly treated. And that's why I'm in conflict. Right. It's not about me, it's about her. See how that works? Calling it a different name or just outright denying the conflict in our mind. There's so many ways in which we do that, but that's a perfect example. I don't want to see that what I'm seeing in my mother is actually in my mind, And it's actually the seeming result of the belief in separation. And the only way to resolve this conflict is to understand what's happening and to completely forgive it, so that the light arises in my awareness and I know that the truth is true and nothing else is true. I have to know that. When I know it, conflict disappears because I no longer want it.
Yeah. And this does require the recognition that any time we've perceived that we've been unfairly treated, any and every time, yeah, it is because it's not because somebody or something has done something to us,
Right.
Independently or apart from our own mind. I mean, this is big, right? We have to recognize and accept that it's all coming from our
Yes.
desire for separation, our unconscious desire
Yes.
for separation. I mean, how big is that? Are we willing to do that?
And the ego will rage at making you feel unfairly treated. It'll use self-justification as a means to make sure it's always projected out there. It does not want you to bring it in there. And you will feel so justified in your version of events. But take the brother or the situation out of it, out of the picture completely, and just know it's all within your thought. You've placed the brother in your mind. You're hearing him say or do things that you want him to do or to say so that you can keep that conflict going seemingly externally. And it's vicious in its defense against it. But when we really are sick of it and we really want to forgive it, we can bring that all in, like I did the other day, where you just go, this is only occurring as a loop in my mind. And if I want Coreen, I'm going to feed the loop. I'm going to make illusions real for myself, and I'm going to feed them with my belief. No more, right? I'm going to forgive this whole thing. Now that I've seen it, hand it over. I don't want this. I don't want the conflict. I don't want the suffering that it brings. Holy Spirit, look upon this with me. Take it and heal my mind, knowing full well Coreen is no part of the solution. We cannot be part of the solution. The one that made it is not designed or wired to be able to truly forgive it and transcend it. It's still part of that loop. The ego stays within the ego. We come out. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good, sis.
Thank
So
you.
huge, this subject, isn't it?
It really is. And I think I felt the switch, we are all ready to see this, that we're protecting it by, when the trigger comes, it's because we want it, and it protects us and our mind from awakening because we still think there's something in separation that we want. Yeah. And these are the ways we protect it, by evading it or calling it another name or hiding it in some other form of deceit. It says you can't do it. You have to see the conflict where it is in my mind. Take accountability. This is my desire. But also know that you can forgive it. And that's the only way to get rid of it, not to get on some other path and start trying to resolve it. That's the I know mind and the doer. It's trying to make up for the things that it made, trying to solve its own problem. Can't do it. He says there's one answer. Only God's answer is going to work, and that's forgiveness. Forgiveness, forgiveness, forgiveness.
So sis, I feel that for many of us, journaling the forgiveness process on those particularly difficult forgiveness opportunities, those ones that we just can't seem to forgive, and the ones that keep repeating themselves, maybe to journal about that and to go in deeper and to ask why we want it. Why do we want to keep projecting our unconscious desire for separation? What's the payoff?
Exactly. That's it. We want to know, why do I keep bringing this to myself? When people come to me now and go, this is happening, I just get curious. Like, I wonder why you're bringing that event into your experience? Why are you calling that into you? And there's zero judgment. It's like curiosity. How is this serving the mind, right? What's and when you come to recognize it, it is a defense against awakening, but you've got to be able to see. I think for myself, I'm not a big journaler. I do journal when it gets really, really gnarly, but I also find that just joining with somebody that shares the same goal as I do to awaken, that the bantering, like in the common goal of joining on it,
Mhm.
of us will get the incoming aha and see it together, and then it's really done.
Yeah, to talk with a miracle buddy. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, very good, sis.
So
Yeah.
either way, but yeah, yeah. And forgiveness becomes pretty quick after a while. It's not like this big process.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Good.
Um,
Good.
fantastic quote, sis. Maybe you might want to, I think, can we include that quote that you read?
Yeah, which one? If truth is totally untrue, cannot exist,
Yeah.
or both, or what? I can't.
Maybe if we can, I would just say that the truth is total. I think
Okay.
that the first one
Yeah.
you read was just, they're both
Yeah.
good. If you're gonna put it
Yeah.
up, you may as well put it both.
I'll put it up. I'll ask Mwanga to
Okay.
put it up in the YouTube,
Yeah.
just under the video. Yeah.
Yeah, we can't read that enough.
Okay. Quote. Uh, or okay. Yeah. Well, that was a great unpacking of forgiveness.
I think so. I think we're really looking at it from every angle.
Yeah.
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 Has to be resolved, and forgiveness is the way.
Mhm.
All right. Forgiveness ends the dream of conflict here. Lesson 333. Thank you. Thanks,
Yeah.
sis.
Thank you. Thanks, beautiful family, for joining us. And let's throw ourselves into forgiveness full time, every moment.
That's
Let's
so
really do it
beautiful.
because it's a gift to ourselves as well.
And it's the only thing that we can do. It's still part of the dream, but it's the only part of the dream that leads to truth.
Mhm.
So if we're doing anything else, we're just adding to the wrong side of the scale. We're wasting time and feeding illusions. Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.